Good morning and welcome to A Better World with Julann and Fran. I'm Julann.
And I'm Fran, and today our very special guest is Abi Levine.
Oh,
Abi,
hi.
welcome. And can you talk a little bit about some of the things that you're doing to make the world a better place?
So we have like at least a few hours, right? I just wanted to make sure that we have plenty of time.
It's usually about half an hour.
Okay, cool.
But
Let
you
me
can get a
trim.
lot in that half hour. We'll be
Yes, you
quiet.
can. Yes, you can. I'm just editing my presentation based on that. Just kidding, just kidding. Yeah, there are a few things I'm really, really inspired to help the world. And so there's several different things that I'm doing. So essentially, a couple of days ago, I'll just give you guys some context. A couple of days ago, I just took a look at the world and I was like, okay, essentially categorizing all of the things that are terrible and also but why, right? But why is this bad? Why are some of these systems like not set up to support people? And then essentially like what it really comes down to is that there's a few big things at play. One of the big things that I'm seeing that I think is really important to dissolve is there's a superiority complex. There's a hierarchy which has been created, right? Because in my personal opinion, I don't believe that there is a hierarchy. I don't believe that there's any kind of superiority, that any one thing makes another person better or worse than anybody else. Um, and it's so fascinating to me how that plays out in society, how the superiority plays out into society. In America, it's a little bit less, and maybe it's because we're a newer country. I feel like America's origin story is the epitome of sovereignty. And so, like, America became its own country because they were just like, you know what, Britain, we're tired of just doing what you say. It's like, you don't get to be the boss of us. You don't know. And so there was a whole revolution that happened. So to me, like, the origins of America are sovereign. And I think that that's why there is this innate sovereignty built into our country, which is I do what I want. I do what I want. My life is what I want, things like that. And in the rest of the world, the imprint that the Brits left, and I am British by nationality, so this is nothing against Brits. This is against a system that was created tens of thousands of years ago by some people who didn't like to be equal. They didn't want to be considered the same as the guys who worked their land. They wanted to be more important. So they actually specifically created a structure to make themselves feel more important. And they started doing like what's done in high school, right? Like on the first day of high school, the reason you know who's the cool kid is because they're the ones walking around going, I'm the cool kid, I'm the cool kid, I'm the cool kid, right? And so you either get on board with that, the cool kid gathers allies, and usually they become bullies. And then if you tolerate the cool kids, then you won't be bullied. But if you oppose the cool kids, then they're going to come at you. And that's just kind of how the system was created too, right? Only the cool kids are, well, we'll leave that to our imagination. And then the uncool kids are people like women, immigrants, people from different countries, people from different, genders. So there's this like superiority that exists. And it exists at different levels all throughout the world, right? There's also this like real dark narrative around money that historically for the last few tens of thousands of years, money has been used to smush, oppress, um, create fear in the people who were inferior, right? It was essentially used in order to prop up this system that was created. And it feels like just a basic lack of equality and lack of respect is the thing that is at the basis of most of these systems. So then I was like, okay, but how do we unwind that? How do we unwind that? Because here now we have, I mean, in our country alone, hundreds of millions of people who are prescribed to that, who know their place in society and don't get out of their lane, right? You've got the outliers who will jettison themselves into higher levels of socioeconomic status. But the other thing that I noticed is that there's this line, right? You're either above it or you're below it. And what I noticed is people who get above the line also buy into the narrative. They then become, oh, well, now I'm superior to you, right? It's like fascinating. The first time it occurred to me was when I traveled first class to England, simply because I wanted to sleep on the plane. Like it was really, really simple. I sleep really terribly. I was taking a red eye. And I just wanted to be able to arrive refreshed, right? So that was my thought process. But the horror and also the fascination that I experienced, like I got into the first class lounge, and historically, I had been saying the words in my teachings like, there is no special code, right? There is no secret key to get into the upper echelons. But apparently there is a secret key, and that secret key is you travel first class, because I walked into the first class lounge and everybody's like, ah, you're one of us. And that is literally how they act. Like, it's like, oh, good. None of the riffraff are here. Ah, look at them. You know, what it felt like is we're all sitting there eating their sweets and we're looking over the balcony at all the people who have to sit in these very tiny chairs. There's recliners, there's like open bar, there's open buffet, and the food is delicious. The drinks are amazing. And there's like, yeah, there's recliners, there's like sofas, there's sectioned off areas that one person can have entirely to themselves and do whatever they like in that area. It's just like, and I was just like, oh shit, it does exist. This special club does exist. You just don't get to see what it's like until they let you into the club. And I was like, ew. And then on the other side of that, there was how I was treated by the people who walked past business class, and the comments, and the most hateful comments. Like, it broke my heart, but the most hateful comments came from the kids who were obviously trained to believe a certain thing about people who could sit in first class. And they were the ones, out of all the people, because they had no filter, they were the ones that you could hear the like bitterest, they were cussing at us. Like, yeah, it was like such. And I was like, but you don't know me. The only thing that you have that separates us in your mind is that I'm where the cool people sit, and you have to walk past where the cool people sit and go back to where, you know, the rest of the riffraff sits. And I was like, okay, this is fascinating, because that showed a level of this narrative on a level, like in the society's unconscious, right? Like, this is where it was actually built into society's unconscious. You know your place. The people below the line have this built-in bitterness and resentment, because when you're below the line, you know you're supposed to stay below the line. You're supposed to hang out with people below the line. You're not supposed to transcend into a different category. And when you're above the line, it's the same. The two don't mix. And so I was like, whoa, it was crazy. So then I realized that the reason that this narrative is baked into society is because it's baked into our coding. It's not just learned behavior. It's not just inherited ancestral trauma. It is also the way that our bodies respond to the comfort zone. It is also the nervous system's ability to feel safe or not safe. It is also the way that the brain's neurons wire together in order to reinforce this narrative. And I was like, well, crap. If we're going to dissolve superiority, if we're going to actually give people a fair shot, where everybody has the same shot, there's a bunch of stuff that has to change. Number one, our coding, our basic operating system as humanity has to evolve beyond survival, which we haven't yet in millions of years. We still live in survival. And for most people, that is very specific, because they spend most of their paycheck, most of their money on cost of living expenses. So they spend the majority of their money, if not all of their money, surviving, right? We've got to pay for food, we've got to pay for housing, we've got to pay for energy, we've got to pay for cars to get to the places where we make money. We've got to pay for all of the things that it takes in order to, like, if we have a business, we've got to pay for our business expenses because we need to keep the money coming in. And if we have a job, then there's a bunch of things we have to pay for there, right? So like, most, if not all of our money goes to just surviving. When that is the case, humanity can't evolve out of survival. We've been trapped in this echelon. So I was like, okay, then cost of living expenses need to be free. Cost of living needs to be free. Basic survival. We shouldn't have to spend our entire existence working to be able to work the next day, right? Like, we shouldn't spend all of our money on food, which is something that we need to live, on housing, which we cannot live without. I mean, yes, are there people who live on the streets and survive? Sure, but not well. Like, they're not living the best of their possible existence, right? And then in the cold months, or in the super hot months, they're dying of heat exhaustion, or they're dying of the cold, right? So we still need housing to survive. And so we're just stuck. Like 99.9% of our society, of our global society, is stuck in this survival, and it's happening on a cellular level, and it's happening on an economic level, and it's reinforced by the law, and it's reinforced by healthcare, and it's reinforced by these narratives that we're seeing. It is literally blanketed. Everywhere you look, what is reinforced is survival, not thriving. In fact, it is such an unknown thing for people to be able to live their dream life that most people don't believe it's possible for them. Most people have completely lost faith. They do not believe that it's possible. And so this is why they just accept it. Because either it's this, either I just keep living my life and I'm living it, oh, okay, so. I mean, I'm like, I'm good with this bit, but I kind of hate this bit, but I'm okay with this bit, and I wish this bit wasn't such a struggle, but you know what, like, it's better than what some people have. So we justify, we rationalize, and it's true, but it still gives us leverage to be able to stay in the system of survival. So and then the other thing is that, yeah, society's entire nervous system, entire operating system needs to be retooled so that thriving and ease and abundance and overflow and trust and sovereignty and surrender become our modus operandum in society, like everybody's, right? If everybody lived from a state of trust, survival, and sovereignty, the world would be a radically different place. So since I have a collection of tools that allows me to rewrite people's operating systems, I created my group version 2.0 to test this. So I created a modality called miracle coding. And so then human version 2.0 is like a place where we can test the ability to rewrite the operating system. So that's what we're testing right now. The results are far beyond what I ever could have anticipated. I mean, like, we're 4 weeks in, I think 5 weeks into the main core teachings with 55 people, and I have over 450 testimonials so far, which is absolutely insane, absolutely nuts. This is it's the quickest results I've ever experienced from a program that I've led. So, okay, so the retooling of humans operating system beta test is going pretty great. I'm already starting to set up. What I would love is to teach this modality to all licensed practitioners, all healers, so that we can all move this fast, so that we actually stand a shot at helping everybody who's willing to be helped, who's available to be helped, and actually creating a ripple effect. So next, I'm setting up to do a licensed research study, an approved research study next year on my modality, so that I can then print it in the professional journals and speak at conferences and teach this modality, you know, all across the healing industry. And then we can kind of get that going. We can just kind of get humanity's retooling on, you know, just more of an automatic thing. Because then on the other side, what I'm creating is a fund that people can send the money that they would usually pay in taxes to the fund, and then essentially the fund will pay for some of these other things to happen. So for food to be free, which is our number one focus, is because nobody should be dying of starvation. There's enough wheat produced. I mean, talk about an abundance, right? Earth is such an abundant planet, so abundant. Like, all you have to do is own 2 fruit trees to be able to have a physical experience of the abundance that Earth has, because you can never, no matter what you do, you can't eat all that fruit. You can't give it away fast enough. The animals can't even eat it in the area. You'll still end up with fruit rotting on the ground. This is the nature of the abundance of our universe. So we produce enough wheat, just wheat, on this planet to feed 11 billion people every year. And there are only 8 billion people on this planet. So there is an excess of wheat that is going to waste every single year. And that's just wheat. Yes, humanity would probably die of scurvy if we lived on bread alone. Yes, we definitely want to take that into account. But there's enough food. There's a plethora. Nobody should be dying of starvation. So we've got our first few plans for making food free. I'm going to start in my local area, and then once I've created a system that functions, I'm going to start spreading out to the rest of California, and then taking that model and then duplicating it into other states. And then once we've got America figured out, then we'll start to move to other countries, because we're just dealing with it. Yeah, they're dealing with different laws. Yeah, so, and then the housing will be next, because that's actually one of my passions, is especially housing aging out foster kids and homeless kids, because as I was raised in foster care, and I just realized if I hadn't reconnected with my birth mother when I emancipated, I would have ended up on the street. Because a lot of kids are literally kicked out when they're 18. Like, their bags are packed, they have no ID, they can't drive, they don't know how to get their ID, they might not even have their birth certificates, right? Like, they get kicked out, and then about 65% of children that went through the system, so either as orphans or foster children, 65% of them end up homeless within 18 months. 65.
That's terrible.
Yeah. And so if you, like, when there's studies done in prisons, 85% of the people in prisons came through the foster system. 85%. And it just kind of makes sense. If you have nowhere to go, you've got no money, you're on the streets, what's going to happen? People who are also on the streets frequently are going to see you as another body, right? And then you're brought into a gang, you're given a home, you're given some food, you're given some money. And so
You have a family.
you have a family, you've got someone watching your back. And all that's required in order to earn your place in society is just do these few illegal things, right? And yeah, it totally makes sense. So I wanted to create a transition program so that kids who are emancipating out of foster care have a safe place to go. They usually experience a lot of abuse, and so their ability to self-regulate know themselves, tell the difference between right and wrong, right? Ability to be manipulated by other people who seem to care about them. All of that stuff is really heightened. So like phase one of that is get their documents, get their health care, get
Right.
them checked out. Phase two is heal. All right. This is the time where everything that you've been exposed to, all of the rejection, all of the abandonment, this is when you heal. And then phase three of that is societal integration, continuing education, or entrepreneurship prep. Because my my pie in the sky goal would be to take the kids that society threw away and turn them into the leaders of tomorrow. That,
Mm,
yeah, that would be like, hee, like we totally beat the system. So those are like some of the starting points, and then free healthcare, right? Like people deserve access to the things that keep them alive without having to bleed for that access. Like that's just as simple as it gets. So that's some of the stuff that I'm working on right now.
oh my goodness, that's huge.
It is, yes.
All of the
Do you,
positive energy that you're putting out into the universe. You are just racking up the karma points here, the good karma.
Excellent.
Yeah.
that's nice. Yeah,
Is
definitely.
there a
And
particular type of person that you attract?
Mhm.
Is there a particular type of person that you attract into this program?
Yeah. So um, so it occurs to me that the entire world, not 100% of people are going to be ever ready to do the kind of confronting work that happens in a group program, right? Requires just a complete level of honesty with yourself, and that can be really jarring. So Human Vision 2.0 is mostly for high achievers who know that they came to do something, who have tried a bunch of different stuff, and for some reason it's just not working, right? So it's people who feel a pull to have made a difference on the planet on their deathbed, right? Um, they feel the certainty that they're supposed to do something, and they're not willing to bleed for it. They want to have a great life experience. They want to have lots of resources. They want to have lots of money. They want to be able to do exactly what it is that they need to do. And so those are the people who tend to be drawn to work either one-on-one with me or in my group container. My one-on-ones are a 5-figure investment. So for my one-on-ones, it's usually going to be people who made some money doing something else, and they're ready to move into their mission, but they don't want to take a dip in income. And so that's essentially like who I usually work with one-on-one. But we're going to create all kinds of different programs so that everybody can get into the ecosystem somehow. So there's going to be, we have an AI agent that coaches people on exactly what I'm teaching. So that's a very low level, like low touch container, because you don't have to report back to anybody. You just sit with, our AI agent, and they'll help you essentially change your perspective. And then there's going to be other things like for the lowest level of awareness, I'm going to create a game that is just going to not only like start to like drip feed this into the game. It's going to be super entertaining. It'll be like a version of it was Pokemon Go that actually inspired me. So it's going to be like a version of Pokemon Go or Stardew Valley or something that's really fun and sweet and like very engaging, but it'll drip these messages in through the game. And then for the level ups, they'll probably be required to, I don't know if you've ever played games on your phone, but like you always get to a point where they're like, okay, now watch these 3 ads, or now you got to do XYZ, and then you'll go to the next level. You'll unlock these tokens, or right. So those will be more specific things, like maybe a little bit of script, or maybe it'll be a recording, or maybe it'll be a nervous system regulation exercise, or right. So for the level ups or the quests or things like that, the things that they really, really want, so they're just going to sit through whatever you're telling them to do so that they could get to the other side. those are going to have like the needle moving activities. And so that'll like gradually wake them up to a point where they get to, okay, I'm interested in learning more. I still want to be a fly on the wall, but I am interested in learning more. And so, and then also a movie. So like a movie, a blockbuster movie that has a Guardians of the Galaxy feeling, but it's interwoven not only with this narrative, but also with the devices, like with NLP coding, with, you know, like quantum linguistics, things like that, that create actual shifts in people's minds as they're watching the movie. So those are the, so we've got like a multi-layered plan of how to do it. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. It sounds
Yeah.
wonderful and very healing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So when people want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Best place to find me is on Facebook, honestly. Like my website needs to be updated with all of my new stuff. And my Instagram is just going to be a static funnel. So yeah, so Facebook is the best place to find me. And then you can just be a fly on the wall and just watch what's happening. And you can find me Abi Levine, Abilevine.
If there was one thing that you'd want the audience to take away today, what would it be?
The most important thing ever is to know deeply that you always have a choice. So many people feel completely powerless, and we're not, but it's because we've been groomed to believe that we're powerless. And so if you can just remember that you always have a choice, you are always empowered, you can always do an action that will make your life better, make someone else's life better, make the world better. Just keep that close, because when we remember that we are empowered, we take steps that make a ripple in our life and in the lives of others and in and on the planet.
Excellent. That's a very nice message. Thank you so much
Thank
for joining
you.
us. It
Yeah.
was very interesting. We wish you the best.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Much success to you. All
Really.
right. This has been another episode of A Better World with Julann and Fran and our special guest, Abi Levine. And please like and share this video and feel free to comment. Thank you.
Thank you.